Hey folks, this video covers techniques for rigging the head. I'm going to start by hitting the plus sign in the layers menu so I can create a new drawing layer. I'll make an individual layer for each of the features of the character's face, and when it comes time to name them, I'll use conventions like L and R with dashes for things like the eyebrows and the eyes. Next, I'm going to reposition my nodes because I like to stay organized. I like to group the parts of the face together because when I later add pegs and other connections, it's easier visually for me to see where things are grouped. Control-Shift-P will give me individual pegs for each layer of art. This segment is going to show the process of where I repeatedly position the translation points or the pivot points of each piece of artwork. I also use the transformation tool just to move things around and to see how they're going to work. Really, this is just a repeated thing that I do so I can go and see if my character is going to break and to see if it's going to work properly when I later go back and animate it. Don't forget to press R to go and reset, or you can F7 to delete those keyframes when you're done. By the way, I'm just going to go delete those keyframes and also press F5 to extend the exposure. This will help me later when I go animate. In this segment, I'm going to group pegs by selecting multiple layers and then pressing Control-P. I'll use similar naming conventions as discussed earlier. I think it's a good idea to group each eye and eyebrow together, then you follow up and group all of the eye parts together. This lays the foundation to group the eyes, nose, and mouth together, and I'll name this the face controller. Later, that face controller becomes a child of the head. And by the way, while I'm going and doing all this stuff, I continually go back and use the translate tool so I could set up the pivot points, and I use the transform tool to move things around to see if everything works. The head is going to get a pivot point that's at the bottom of the circle for a good amount of squash and stretch, and then I'm going to add one more top level node to control everything. That pivot point is going to be set at the bottom of the neck. This is a super basic rig. However, I want to show you a really cool tool to organize things. I'm going to click, drag, and select a number of nodes, and then I'm going to go click these buttons to go create a backdrop. You can click the yellow box in the corner so you can change the color of your backdrop, and you can also type in a name. This is extremely helpful, especially when there's a bunch of visual clutter and you're managing hundreds and hundreds of layers with a multi-limb character. But we'll see what that looks like in the future. Alright, let's wrap this one up with a quick head turn animation, and I'll just kind of talk over the time lapse. As shown in previous videos, I like to animate on different passes, and I focus on that larger movement first. I'll later go back and fine-tune the animation by adding in eye blinks, a twinkle to the nose, and a tilt of the mouth. And instead of clicking through layers, I'm going to click around in the node view because it's nice and organized. Again, all that visual clutter in the layers menu is something I avoid because it's way easier to just click around in the node view. All right, do me a favor. I'd like you to go build some kind of a face, and I want you to rig it and group it and animate it. Thanks for watching. Bye.